Not all love stories start with roses or handwritten notes. Some begin with silence, a cold street, and a girl too lonely to speak. Emily was 20, living in a city that never really noticed her. She wasn't the loudest in class or the smartest. She didn't go to parties. She didn't have hundreds of followers. But what she had was heart. A quiet one, tucked under layers of sweaters and unfinished dreams. Every day, she walked the same route from her tiny apartment to the university. And every day she passed the same forgotten building, an abandoned bookstore, its windows cracked, its wooden sign faded like it had given up long ago. That's where she saw him. The dog. The first time she thought he was just resting, curled tightly against the wall, ribs visible through thin fur. No collar, no bark, no sound. She looked at him. He looked back, and she kept walking. But that night something in her chest ached. She didn't sleep well. Her mind kept returning to those eyes, calm, resigned, like they'd stopped hoping anyone would care. The next morning she packed a bit of her sandwich into foil. When she passed the bookstore, he was still there. Same position, same stare. She paused, unwrapped the food, placed it gently on the pavement a few feet away. He didn't move, didn't even sniff. So she whispered, "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you," then walked away. When she turned the corner, she looked back. He was eating. That was the beginning. Days became weeks. Emily named him Shadow, not because he followed her, but because he didn't. He stayed in his corner of the world watching. She'd bring him scraps, boiled eggs, chicken pieces, toast. And sometimes when she had a good day, she'd just sit nearby and talk to him about her assignments, her parents who rarely called, how hard it was making friends in a place where everyone seemed louder, brighter, more alive. Shadow never interrupted, but he always listened. She even started journaling about him. Shadow was waiting again today. I think he trusts me a little more. He blinked slowly when I said goodbye. To most people that would mean nothing. To Emily it was everything. But life doesn't always pause for healing hearts. It was early December, finals week. The snow had started falling harder, and Emily had stayed late at the library to finish her last exam prep. When she finally stepped outside, it was dark, bitterly cold. The streets were mostly empty. Her phone was on 3%. And her breath came out in little puffs of fog. She tucked her earbuds in and started walking, but something felt wrong. Presence. She turned slightly. Behind her was a man, not rushing, not calling out, just walking, steady, too steady. She crossed the street. So did he. Her heart raced. She pulled out her earbuds, quickened her pace. Her building was still 3 blocks away, and that's when she heard it. That growl, familiar, deep, protective. Shadow. He had appeared from the shadows like a phantom. No leash. No warning, just him, standing between her and the man. His body was low, ready, his stare locked on the stranger, that low growl growing louder. The man hesitated, took a step back, then turned, and vanished into the falling snow. Emily stood frozen. Tears filled her eyes. Shadow walked to her slowly, nudged her leg, and without thinking, she dropped to her knees and hugged him. Not tight. She knew he didn't like that, but enough. Enough for him to know. He had just saved her life. That night she didn't ask. She opened her door and said, "Come in." He stepped inside cautiously, sniffed around, and curled up on the rug like he had always belonged there. For the first time in months, Emily slept through the night. Warm, safe, loved. The days that followed felt like a movie. She gave him a bath, brushed out the knots, fed him real food, chicken, rice, soft bread. He still didn't bark, didn't whine, but he wagged his tail, sometimes just a little, like he was learning how. They watched movies together. She did her homework with his head on her foot, and every time she looked at him she thought, "How did I ever live without you?" But one day he didn't eat. He slept more than usual, moved slower. She panicked, took him to a vet, her hands trembling the whole ride. The vet looked at her with soft eyes. "He's older than he looks, probably lived on the streets for years. He's got arthritis, and his heart isn't strong." Emily nodded, holding back tears. "I'll take care of him," she whispered, "however long he has. I'll make sure he knows he was loved." That winter, they lived in their own little world. Late night cuddles, morning walks, rainy Sundays watching old cartoons. Emily wrote her final paper about him, titled it, "The Day a Dog Saved Me." And when she submitted it, her professor replied, "This is more than an essay. It's a love letter to survival." 1 year later, Shadow passed away, peacefully, in her arms, wrapped in his favorite blanket, beside the window where he loved to watch the snow. Emily buried him in her backyard with a small sign that read, "Shadow, my guardian, my heart." She still walks by the old bookstore sometimes, still leaves a piece of bread there, not because she expects anyone to eat it, but because that's where her life began again. They say rescue dogs are broken, but that's not true. Sometimes it's the broken ones who heal us. Without words, without promises, just presence. And sometimes, you think you're saving a dog, but really, they're saving you. This was more than a story. It was a reminder that love can find us in the loneliest places, even when we're not looking. Subscribe for more heart-touching stories like this, because somewhere someone is still waiting for a little kindness.